Hi, it's time for another Pagan Blog Project post. Ugh, say that 3 times fast. So my letter is B for this week, and so I'm going to be talking about Books of Shadows, or Book of Shadows. Books of Shadows. Not quite sure which is the plural form, but I know that it's kind of controversial to talk about Books of Shadows and to talk about what's in them and show them on the internet or show them to anyone for that matter. But there's nothing that I'm going to be showing you that isn't readily found or available on the internet or that you couldn't find from someone else. I'm a solitary, so I make up and get all of my rituals from books that are available to the public, so no biggie. So I just thought that I would go through and start and show you a timeline, basically, of all of the Books of Shadows that I've had over my practice. So this is the first one that I had, and I got this one when I was first thinking about spirituality, really. And so I went to the bookstore and I just got this spiral notebook, and I started journaling in it. And I started journaling about, the different spiritual paths that I was going to research, basically, and questions. And it really started out with Wicca, I think, was, like the very first entry was like about Wicca and all these questions that I had found online about, are you really okay being a Wiccan? Are you just doing it to do it? Notes on books that I had read, and journaling, a lot of journaling. And then it goes into things like the Sabbats, like I have a picture of the Wheel of the Year and all that stuff, and how an altar will probably be set up, and all of this kind of stuff. And then it kind of just started getting filled with junk, like I did like a first draft of rituals in here, so you can see it's like all scratched out, and I used it to kind of work out rituals, what I was going to say and do, and how I was going to move things around. So I don't really write, well, there's not really any room in it to write anymore, but I like to keep it around just to kind of go back every once in a while and look and remind myself of where I started from. So that's really cool. And then once I decided that I was gathering a lot of reference materials that needed to be combined, it changed so much from being a journal to being a gathering place for all of that information. So I got a 3-ring binder, and this is another method that you can use. I know a lot of people keep electronic Books of Shadows. This 3-ring binder thing really works well. So I have 3-ring binder. It's black, and it has this sleeve here where you can put a page in there, but I didn't have a good printer and computer at the time, so I didn't worry about doing all that. But in the beginning, I just started out with a bunch of white pages and just basically wrote on them. Let me see if I can find something that I wrote. Oh, I made like little dividers for each of the Sabbats. So here's one for Midsummer. And then stuff's all fallen out. And then I wrote down, like the ritual and stuff like that. Very little pictures and decoration. And I decided that was getting really boring, and I wanted something to look a little bit more decorative. So I started doing things like looking for scrapbooking paper and stencils and stamps and different colored pens and things like that. So I did stuff like this. And it still looks kind of, text heavy, I guess I would say. But that's, what I did. And then I decided that this isn't really what I wanted. I like the 3-ring binder concept, but I wanted something that would be more decorative. I wanted something that was pretty, or something that I could decorate, something that would also withstand the test of time. I wanted to use, scrapbook quality stuff so that it would be protected for a long time. And, if I wanted to, or if I had the need or the desire, or my children one day had the need or desire to, take on and look at that book, that everything would be preserved. And I just think it makes everything really special. to take care of it and do it in that way. So this is also the time that I started getting heavy into thinking about, you know, coven practice versus solitary practice and what I do. Like I said in my other videos, I consider myself into hearthcraft and a hearth witch. And to me, that kind of means being centered around family and home. And so for me, the coven experience, I don't think is going to be as fulfilling for me, or it would be in addition to that family atmosphere. I would love it if I were, you know, if one day I had children and they got interested. Of course, I'm not going to push it on them, but, you know, I just thought that I would like to have that experience with them. Or if during the holidays, you know, they see mommy with this book and they know that whenever the book comes out, there's fun because she's going to do crafts and baking and special cooking and fun activities. You know, that's sort of where I want to go with my practice. And so I've been thinking about this for a long, long time, and I finally got to a craft store where I found 2 of these lying around, and they were on clearance, and one of them had a crack in it, and the other one was the one that I got. And this one is stained a little bit, but it's a wooden scrapbook, and it's post bound, right? So if you're not a scrapbooker and you don't know what that means, it means that it has these posts running through this way. And when it gets too full, you just buy an extender pack and it has more of the posts that you can screw on and you can expand it this way. So eventually my Book of Shadows could be like this thick, right? And I liked the wood cover because it is just so decorative and so pretty, and I can carve it or paint it or stain it however I want to. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but that's what I'm going to do. So this sort of is my little motif. This is sort of how and I have, like, you know, my beliefs and all that kind of stuff in here, and rituals, and I've decorated, the light's probably all funky, but I tried to decorate it really pretty and things like that. So I don't know how well you can see this, but hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing. And if not, then, oh, there's nothing on that page. Sorry, you can't see anything on that page. Yeah, so I just kind of decorated some of the pages. And so it's a little unwieldy because it's so large, but that's really what I wanted, is something large that I can open, and it's going to stay open, and it's going to be nice and big and grandiose and dramatic, you know. So that's one of the things that I'm currently working on. The other thing that I'm currently working on is a smaller version. And so whereas this larger one would be like for a family, hopefully one day, this smaller one would be like just for me and my personal use. And this would be like my hearth book of shadows, my hearthcraft book of shadows. And so I did this the other day, as I tea stained all of the pages because they were just too white for me. And then I started putting in some things. But most of this, I'm going to put a few things, informational things in the front, but most of this is actually not going to be a book of shadows. Most of this will be a grimoire. So it'll have spells and recipes and things like that for most of it, but a little bit of introductory material. So those are my books of shadows, books of shadows, or book of shadows. I'm not sure which one it is, but that's what they are. I think that it's important to kind of plan out what you want it to look like, what the feel and style that you want it to have. It's an entity in itself, and so you want to make sure that you're consistent, I would think. I mean, it's yours, do what you want, but that would be my advice, is to sort of have something that makes it consistent throughout your whole book of shadows, and it will make for a more cohesive and pleasurable experience when thumbing through it to find whatever you need to find. So yeah, those are my books of shadows, and I'd really like to see some videos of other people's ideas for Books of Shadows. I understand if you don't want to show your actual Book of Shadows or what's in it, but I would really like to hear about what it looks like or what method you use. Do you keep an electronic one or paper? Do you use a blank book? Do you use scrapbook style? Do you use a spiral notebook? You know, I just always am interested in hearing what other people use and are doing for different things. So yeah, leave a comment or post a video response would be really cool. So yeah, Books of Shadows. Books of Shadows is